you, Mr. Chairman, and thank both of you for being here. Mr. Secretary, I believe, as I know you do, that one of America's greatest and most sacred treasures is the men and women in uniform who risk and sometimes sacrifice their lives for the cause of American freedom. And further, that as a nation we do indeed owe it to each one of them to carry them from the battlefield and back to their home and families. And it's also my belief that these heroes, down to the last person, would reject gaining their release through an unprecedented negotiation with jihadist terrorists that would categorically break American law, that would return 5 high-value terrorists, that would diminish the security of the United States, and that would place a bounty on all of our men and women in uniform, and ultimately essentially weaken America's hold on this priceless freedom for which generations have fought and died. Mr. Secretary, I also agree with you that every one of our military personnel should know that if they are captured by the enemy, that we will come and get them. But that isn't what happened here. What happened here is that the Obama administration has now telegraphed to terrorists the world over that all they have to do is to kidnap or capture an American soldier or citizen, and that the United States will capitulate and free some of their most dangerous terrorist leaders. Now, Mr. Secretary, I want to say this the right way, but for the last 5 years, the American people and terrorists themselves have watched in astonishment and disbelief as this administration has handed back blood-bought gains to our enemies. And I believe the result is that somewhere in this world, this moment, that there are terrorists watching this hearing in complete jubilation. And so my question is, do you believe that this, what I believe to be an illegal trade, is going to intensify the terrorist policy that you mentioned and their efforts to kidnap American citizens and personnel of our military forces across the world that would afford them the obvious leverage that they've gained here in this case?
Congressman, as I've said before, our military is always at risk, especially in war. Afghanistan is one such place. So those men and women are at risk and have been.
But has this intensified the terrorists' efforts here and their policy?
If I believed that would have been the case, I would have never signed off on this. As I said earlier, the Taliban's position on trying to capture American servicemen and women had been very clear for 12 years.
But certainly this deal has undergirded that policy. Certainly this seems to be one of those things that would encourage them to focus on it more.
I don't know would be after for 12 years it's been.
Well, the fact that they've got the entire American people focused on this debate, that they brought us into this kind of chaos, that they have gained these gains, certainly would tell me that they see that there's great value in doing that.
Well, you know, one issue that's not been mentioned here this morning is the tremendous progress the Afghan government has made, in particular the military. And I think that's rather measurable. Looking at the elections, we've got another election, the final next week. They're doing all of the combat missions themselves. Yes, they have a ways to go. But the reason I mention that, Congressman, is because this is a different world than it was 5 years ago in Afghanistan or 3 years ago. And the increased strength of the Afghan army and all the institutions of Afghanistan is a significant part of this. If I believed that it was going to increase the risk to our soldiers, I would have never, ever signed off on that.
Well, I don't doubt your sincerity in that regard, sir. I do profoundly, in all due respect, doubt your judgment on that front.
Well, that's fair.
So let me finally ask you, can you clarify for us, I didn't get it clear a moment ago, what is the connection or the relationship between the Haqqani network and the Taliban?
I don't know exactly the relationship. And by the way, I said in my statement the Haqqani network was holding Bergdahl. We know that there's an affiliation, there's an association. We don't know if the Taliban's had subcontracted to the Haqqanis to hold Bergdahl. We again can get down deeper in this in a classified.
Well, I think that would be important for the record at some point.
We don't know all of the pieces.
Well, I'm out of time, Mr. Secretary. Thank you for your answers. And Mr. Chairman, I do believe that this effort has ultimately weakened freedom in the world.
Ms. Spear.